We are headed now to Pine Mountain, Georgia, where part of John Wallace's famous kingdom was located, a large expanse of land where he grew corn and he also raised dairy cattle. Now, John Wallace was above the law, he believed. He believed that he could do no wrong in Meriwether County, and he indeed called it his kingdom. We're going to be seeing part of the actual land that was the kingdom. We're going to see a house that was owned by a woman that he knew, and there's a little mystery involved in that house. We'll share that when we get over to Pine Mountain together. We are traveling now from Roopville, the Franklin area, very close to Alabama. We're going to head over to Pine Mountain. We're going to be visiting the Chipley History Museum. Chipley was the original name of this town, but when Carson Calloway came to Georgia because he had a very good friend that loved Georgia, that would have been President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who loved this countryside, this beautiful part of Georgia. And Carson Calloway and his wife decided to start a resort, a garden, and they formed Callaway Gardens. Well, they didn't think the name Chipley sounded that great for tourism, so they changed the name to Pine Mountain. It had been named Chipley originally for a railroad tycoon. So that's some interesting stuff about the town where we are headed next. The curator and the volunteers for the museum will be meeting us there and helping us tour. So get your questions ready and be thinking of what things you might want to ask them as we tour the museum. Now, John Wallace, of course, was convicted of murder, and he was executed by the state of Georgia. He is known to be the first white man historically to be found guilty of murder and sent to the electric chair by the eyewitness accounts of two African-American men, Albert Brooks and Robert Lee Gates. This was a historical fact. He also was the first man in Georgia to be executed and found guilty of and executed for murder with no body ever found. Wilson Turner's remains really were never found. And of course, this case played out before DNA evidence, where we could have had just a small portion of the remains and tested them for DNA. Now, John Wallace dragged the body of Wilson Turner back over the county line after he murdered him in Moreland in Coweta County, and he dumped him in a well. He visited Mahaley asking about the body because he couldn't remember which well he dumped it in. And we're going to see the headwaters of the creek where he did dump those earthly remains after he incinerated them on his property. So we'll be doing that in just a little while. While we're driving, I want you guys to enjoy each other, share your ideas and your thoughts. It's going to be really exciting to get to the museum. We are going to see a jail cell there, and then when we get to Greenville, we'll see the actual jail cell where Wilson Turner spent the last 2 nights of his life before he was murdered by John Wallace. We'll be visiting John Wallace's grave there at the cemetery, and when we head back towards Greenville, we'll also be looking for the White Sulphur Springs camp. It'll come up on our left. I'll point that out to everyone as we go. And this is where John Wallace honeymooned with his wife, Josephine. Now, he and Josephine had a volatile relationship. John Wallace was a very violent man with her and with others, as indicated in the very first scene of the movie, in which Andy Griffith, surprisingly, played the villainous, murderous John Wallace. And of course, Johnny Cash played Lamar Potts, the sheriff of Coweta County, who indeed was vigilant to solve the crimes. Now, the movie makes Lamar Potts out to be quite the stellar character, and in fact, in real life, he was connected to Moonshine. You could pay him off for him to turn a blind eye, but that was the case of most lawmen, especially in the state of Georgia in those days. So sit back. We've got a little bit of a drive here, but I want to again thank you for joining us on the Moonshine Over Georgia tour. The facts that we tried to portray in this tour come from many sources. One, of course, is the real-life case as it played out in both Meriwether and Coweta counties in Georgia. And then, of course, the book, Murder in Coweta County, and the subsequent movie by the same name. We also studied books such as No Remorse about John Wallace, Oracle of the Ages, featuring the tales of Miss Mahalia Lancaster. And we have also interviewed folks who knew Mahalia, knew Sheriff Potts. We've even interviewed relatives still related to John Wallace, including the Stricklands, and we'll be visiting their farm after we leave Pine Mountain. So sit back, relax, enjoy each other. We hope to meet up and have a great time at the museum. Enjoy your drive, and we'll see you in Pine Mountain.